And we are recording. Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for being here. Episode 4 of the GSRC vlog series. I am Molly Holmes, the director of the Gender and Sexuality Resource Center. She, her, hers are my pronouns. I am coming at you today from my office in the Gender and Sexuality Resource Center. Can't wait to see everybody pass by one time or another. But for today, we have a great experience because we have our first ever guest expert vloggers.
We're experts.
Experts.
Right.
You're guests. You're vloggers officially. So this is just really wonderful. And so we're going to have our guest vloggers introduce themselves, and then we'll get into our topic for episode 4. Guest vloggers. Anne.
Okay, so Ann Edwards, director of the Center for Black Studies at NIU. My pronouns are she, her, hers. And I am coming to you live and direct from my home office. Shout out to all the home offices in the world.
Thank you for being here. Sandy.
Hi, everyone. Lopez. I'm the coordinator for undocumented student support, she, her, hers, ella pronouns, and I am coming to you from my home office as well today. And I just want to share a little bit that the Office for Undocumented Student Support is here to engage our undocumented students as well as our mixed status students, and to make sure that we provide resources and support. So please make sure to stop by and visit us as well. Thanks for having me.
Thank you. So, Anne, do you want to share a little bit about the Center for Black Studies as well?
Yeah, because I forgot to do that. Go ahead, Sandy, you're leading the charge. Okay, so the Center for Black Studies is one of our diversity resource centers that really focuses on the Black experience. We are both home to an academic minor, so we have a Black Studies minor, and then we also serve really as student support, advocacy, awareness, in the work that we do. And we do that work not only through the classes that are taught, but also through our programming, which we have major programming that happens throughout the academic year, but we also have retention programs. So we have our Black Male Initiative, our Black is Gold, which centers the experiences of those students to help them graduate. We have our honor society. We have a lot going on at the Center for Black Studies, and so we are open Monday through Friday, 10 a.m. to 4:30 p.m. So please come by and visit us and just check in, not all at once, and not your mask.
Those are great reminders. Thanks so much, Anne.
Yeah.
So today we are talking about the very important topic of voting, and specifically through the lens of gender, sexuality, and voting. Obviously at the GSRC, gender and sexuality are on our minds a lot, and we do have an upcoming election happening. And I would say, just from the perspective of our center or my professional experience, the way that gender and sexuality shows up in voting is a lot like where it shows up everywhere. It really kind of does mediate a lot of different topics in a lot of different areas, obviously from the economy to healthcare to really just how, people, especially with people with marginalized and minoritized gender and sexualities, kind of navigate. So certainly looking at all of the intersections of the issues and figuring out what matters when you think about gender and sexuality is what I always encourage students to do, is try to get into the nitty-gritty, because sometimes it's not always apparent. But in addition to, you two being people that I love to collaborate with and just really learn alongside with, work alongside with, get into our work together, I'm really curious today as guests on our vlog for you to share any insights or things from your professional lenses that you would want people to know about gender, sexuality, and voting.
Sandy, you go first. I'll let you go first.
Okay, so really, I think in general, I'm thinking about voting and our Huskies, right? And thinking about this election, and thinking about our communities of color specifically, and the fact that there's potential. There's a lot of voter potential there that hasn't been tapped into. Mm-hmm. And so, when we look at the 2016 elections, if you think about, that the Black vote was only 59.6% and the Latinx vote was only 47.6% that came out in 2016. The Asian vote was 49.3%. there's so much potential for us to make a change in certain areas, you know, and sometimes I think students and people don't think that their vote makes a difference. And it really can make a difference, especially in your local level. You're talking your school board people, your county clerks, the people who set up all the regulations to even get out to register to vote and where to vote. And there's so much that's happening at your local level within your community. And truly, you know, when we're looking at what policies are being in place that are going to affect people, and specifically, you know, looking at gender, sexuality, looking at immigrants. And for me, that's very near and dear, right? I work with the undocumented population who, although they cannot vote, are definitely looking to see who is being put in these positions and who is being put in place of power, who to determine these regulations and rules in their local areas, and then up to the state and then to the federal level. So I think it's so important right now that we realize that every vote does count. And some votes were determined, you know, some races were determined by 3 votes last election. So it does matter. And for our Huskies, make sure that you are registering to vote. Make sure that you are finding out about issues that are important to you. Oftentimes people vote along party lines. I'm just telling people, just vote. Vote, learn about the issues, make sure you realize what is important to you, and then vote that way. Right? Because oftentimes people vote with their heart, not with their, sometimes it's marrying both of them, right? So I'm asking people, educate yourself, learn about what's important to you, and please get out to vote, because there were so many people who didn't last election.
Thank you. So I want to take a slightly historical perspective on why we should vote, right? Because I think history can repeat itself if we don't really know what it is. And I think from a historical perspective, especially in Black communities, when we look at the civil rights movement and a lot of the push towards voting, right? And not even for a presidential election. We just happen to be in a presidential election year. But as Sandy was saying, for local people, Black people were fighting for the right to vote locally. Right? They were fighting to vote for things that impacted their everyday lives across the country. And this idea of why is it important to vote, I think we have to flip that question on just a little bit to say, if it wasn't important to vote, then why do we have so much voter suppression happening? Right? And so clearly voting is important because of the impact that whomever we vote into office has on our daily lives, has 10 and 20 years down the road, and sometimes even longer. Right? We know that the impact of voting means policy, whether that be from the Supreme Court to our federal judges, to our local judges, to our local, even our city and county clerks. Like these, historically, when we talk about it from a gender and from a race perspective, the whole women's suffrage march definitely comes to mind, right? This idea, and there were Black women marching with that women's suffrage march, and Ida B. Wells made sure that was occurring. But the whole purpose behind that was to make sure that women got the right to vote. And Black women were like, hey, don't leave us out. We also want to vote as well, right? And it is because that impact is just so great on our lives. And so I just want to give a few numbers, right? And so our president appoints our judges. And so if we think about it, even going back to as far as Jimmy Carter, who has one person, and I can't even tell you when Jimmy Carter was president, that was a while ago, right? But there's still one person that he put in a federal judgeship that is still in that appointment. And so when we talk about elapsing generations, the importance of voting is that it elapses generations, and it has a generational impact on policies and issues of concern to not only to I will say people of color, but people of color of all genders, of all, like what we have seen, our genders, our sexualities, what we have seen in our world. We have seen some things turn, right? But the reason it has turned is because of voting. I want the other thing that the other, I guess I want to say myth that I want to dispel is that your vote does not matter. And as Sandy said, some races were won by very small margins. Voting matters, right? It matters. You putting, and in order to vote, you do have to be an educated and more informed voter. But this is my last thing, from a historical concept. So when we go back to the history of education and why education was formed, it really was formed to make a more informed democracy, citizen, to be a person that is able to vote. Now we know that when this was all written, it was written by, white male landowners, right?
Right.
Not even poor white men, but white rich landowners in a lot of cases, right? Okay, but we'll take that, right? And so we know that to be an educated citizen is to be an informed citizen so that you can vote for the things that help you to get to that, I don't want to say American dream, but to where you want to be in this world, in this country. So I'll say that.
Thank you so much. Yes. This is such a big topic to put into a small space like that our vlog has. But what I will say is that, these two individuals have been doing so much work and continue to do the work through and past the election to speak to what you both are talking about in terms of helping students be informed, helping students understand their history, and really getting into a little bit of kind of like what I was talking about before about the nitty gritty. It's not always so cut and dry to know our history because it might have been kept from us. It might be until like that sophomore year class that we took that one time, so it is so nuanced, and we just kind of got just a little bit into it today. But we will make sure that your social media handles, your websites are in the comments so that students can get connected with upcoming events and programming, the amazing pieces of social media, statistics, events that you share, on those platforms, just so students can continue to be informed. So from my heart and my office and my center to your spaces and to you, thank you so much for your perspectives. Thank you for the work that you do on this campus. And to our viewers, thank you for choosing to be home with us on the GSRC vlog. We'll catch you next time.
Bye.
Yes.